Welcome to the Cattlegrid podcast with me, Phil Bennett, and the one and only Jason Robinson. We've started off at the top. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of rugby league royalty. I think you'll be the first person that I don't think I get any higher in rugby league and rugby union royalty. So thank you so much for your hospitality and giving somebody like me a chance to interview you. Obviously, got a great interest in you from a very young age, from the same area, South Leeds, Hunslet Parkside boy.
Yeah, you're making me sound old now, Phil.
Well, you don't look so old. You don't look any older now than when you finished Leeds off in grand final.
But, I know. Hey, good time.
Still look like you could do a bit.
Well, as soon as I get on the field, I'll probably pull my hamstring, to be fair. But no, it's good to see you. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Welcome. What do you think at Cattlegrid? Have I done a good job for you?
To be fair, it's exceptional. I'm a bit envious, to be fair.
My good friend Alex Simmons told me to create a podcast studio, so that's what I did.
Well, you've done a good job here.
Well, we couldn't have got any better than the main man himself, so we'll get straight into it. Started at Hunslet Parkside. You know, obviously I'm a massive rugby league fan who has a lot of respect for rugby union as well. Parkside had a great history of, producing some great young players. Gary Schofield, David Creaser, yourself, Marvin Golden.
Yeah, it's quite a lot there. But I actually started at Hunslet Boys Club.
Well, I know you have do a lot of work for them, don't you?
Yeah, so I started there, and I only got introduced to rugby through a school teacher at Crossflats Park in Beeston. And then through that, I went down to, a couple of my mates went down to Hunslet Boys Club, where I played there for a couple of years. And then I went up to Parkside, just on Bellar Road, which, was you look back and there's some great years there. Like you say, I always remember going there, sort of 13-year-old, and Gary Schofield's mum used to work. Well, I'm saying she worked there. She used to help out, doing the tea and just whatever she needed to do. And she'd always talk about our Gary and talk, just with pride, because, he was a legend, isn't he? Leeds, Great Britain, we all used to want to be like Gary Schofield. And I suppose when somebody comes from your club and he's done it, you kind of think, well, maybe I can do it. And, I suppose at that level, in my amateur days, I never got beyond Yorkshire. So, I was pretty decent. I was thin as a rake, but I was really good on my feet.
Oh yeah, I bet you never used to get caught at Tig, didn't you, in the playground?
No. Well, I think
one thing a lot of people have been asking me. Obviously, I know a lot of Leeds people, and I'm a Leeds lad myself. Ask him: is it true? Is it true that Leeds Rhinos, Leeds Rugby Club, knocked you back? Is it true? Tell us the story.
Well, I was in competition at the time with a lad called Gareth Stevens. I think his dad...
Little curly-haired guy.
Yeah, his dad were at Leeds as well. And, sort of when I went down there for a trial... To be fair, he was a good player. Good scrum half, because I used to play scrum half. And people forget that because, they've seen me playing on the wing, scoring tries. But back in the day when I was playing, I was a scrum half stand-off. So I was competing against him, and I was ball boy at Leeds. I always remember chucking a ball onto Big Roy Powell and Creaser and all those guys, and just thinking one day, get the opportunity to play here. So I always wanted to play for Leeds, hometown club, and it just wasn't meant to be. And I didn't. He got signed. I didn't get signed. And, I think around that time as well, there's a few people, I ain't going into names, but it was a case of, well, you'll never make it. Do you know what I mean?
And that due to your size a bit, do you think, or a bit of favouritism as well?
Well, they thought partly because of my size, but I think partly a little bit of jealousy. And they probably had a little bit more influence with their kids. I had nobody really backing me other than what I did on the field. But I look back now and I just think, partly I'd have loved to. if I could look back on my career and I played for the Rhinos, you know, that's probably one thing I would have liked to have done. But that said, you know, I came out of school. You know, my first job was working for a company called Ultrasonic Cleaning Services, cleaning metal, degreasing metal. I did that for about 6 months, 8 months, and then I got signed for Wigan. So at the age of 16, signed for Wigan, full-time at 17, move over to Wigan. I mean, dear me, it just couldn't have got any better. You know, the first year I was playing in the academy, a few games in the A-team reserves, with Big Graham West. And then the following year, I got my opportunity. I think they used to do a 7-a-side tournament just before the season started. And John Money, who was a coach at the time, just threw me into that. And I did pretty well. And there was a couple of injuries, put me in first game, and never looked back since. So.
You're absolutely electric when you burst onto the scene with them, and I remember you obviously your winning try in that grand final against Leeds, and obviously it broke my heart at the time being a Leeds lad, but you always seem to have a good game against Leeds. You always had an eye in for it.
Well, I scored. I mean, one of my, you know, there's a couple of times where I scored 5 tries in the game, and one of them was against Leeds. So, but it was always one of those. Like, part of me was obviously a bit sad because, you know, I didn't get selected, but also then I always felt I had a little bit more to prove. But you know, outside of Wigan now, obviously massive. Wigan have done so much for me, but I've still got a soft spot for Leeds. I
would surmise in rugby league, a lot of wingers who played opposite you and a lot of rugby players who played opposite you would have you down as a horror to mark and play against, obviously due to your footwork and how fast you are on that. Who were the person you didn't like having to face up against and mark? Who's the person that come into the back of your mind when you thought, oh God, I've got to mark him today? Because you must have put a lot of fear of God into people with just how you could move and operate. But
I didn't have one.
Not bothered?
I didn't have one. I was always the smallest, you know, so, you know, it wasn't a case of, look at the size of him, because everybody was just big anyway. Yeah. And sometimes I think you can worry about people too much. I think quite often most people are put off because he's big, he's got this, he's got that. And for me, it was a case of, well, just back myself, you know, smaller. My mum's like really small, but she's, you know, my mum anyway. Yeah, she's hard as nails. Do you know what I mean? And she had a tough life, and she, you know what I mean? She worked and she fought, and I feel like I've taken that on because, you know, I didn't have it easy, never knew my father. You know, we struggled. So anytime I was on the field, it was almost like, well, you don't want this as much as me. Yeah, you haven't got a clue what I've gone through to get here. I ain't going to let you, you know, get the better of me. And don't get me wrong, sometimes players did, and, you know, some exceptional players throughout that time. But for me, it was all about me and what I could do. And then using what people saw as a weakness in terms of my size, I saw as a strength. Because, you know, whilst I am small, I'm strong. And getting somebody's legs when you're small is so much easier. If you're 6'7", trying to get my legs, I mean, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's you know, it's using what people see as a perceived weakness as a strength. And there's nothing better for me as a little fella in this big macho game, stood opposite somebody who was 6'5", and looking in their eyes and just knowing you're in that back pocket today, and you know
I'm having you.
You know it.
I mean, obviously, he had an unbelievable career at Wigan. Won lots of trophies. Played in a great team. You know, Sean Edwards.
Unbelievable.
What a player he was. Andy Farrell. You know, you were an absolutely amazing team that have gone down in history, no doubt whatsoever. But where did the transition come into Union? Was it literally just a money thing? Was it something that you fancied? Was it, you know, what made Jason Robinson decide to go from the absolute pinnacle of rugby league to saying, did you just fancy something else? What was it?
Yeah, I think most people normally just think, oh yeah, he's gone for the money, you know. And I think that mindset in rugby league, You know, when you talk about rugby union, everybody just think, oh, posh game, loads of money, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you said before about Wigan and that success. Well, from a very young age, you know, I played at Wigan for almost 10 years. And, I mean, I was so lucky that we had so many great players and we won everything. You know, I got so many medals, you know, from being at Wigan.
Yeah.
You know, Challenge Cups, Grand Finals, Premierships. I mean, Regal trophies, John Player. You know, there's so many that I've got, and I think it gets to a stage where, you know, I'd almost done 10 years, and I'd done everything in the game. I'd played for Great Britain, I'd played for England, played in a World Cup, and it was like, well, do you keep doing it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know about you, but I love challenges. Keep throwing challenges at me all the time. I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want it to be where I know next year or the year after and the year after I'm going to be picked for Great Britain and for England. Do you know what I mean? I almost want that fear factor that I have to keep proving, I have to keep being challenged. And I always remember Clive Woodward calling me up, and I remember it because I didn't know who Clive Woodward was at the time. And he rang me up and spoke about, this was in 2000, and he spoke about a World Cup that was coming up in 2003. And he thought that I would make a really good contribution to the team, this England team, and help, hopefully, you know, do well in this World Cup. And I don't know what it was, but I think we all want to feel like somebody wants us. Do you know what I mean? And not that I didn't in rugby league, but I just thought now is the time to do it. You've had players from going both ways, and normally it's at the end of the career. When about 32, they go either way and play a couple of seasons, bit of pocket money. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it was right. If I go and I'm not successful, it's simply because I'm not good enough. You know, I was 26. You know, I was in real good shape. One of the top guys in rugby league. And I thought, yeah, I can remember watching some probably videos at the time, Betamax. But I remember watching, just seeing what the competition was like. And I thought, well, I can
skin these.
No, but because I think sometimes you just got to strip it down. Do you know what I mean? You've got to know what you're good at. And, you know, I'll put my hand up. I mean, the rugby union is so complex. You know, the rucks, the mauls, the driving mauls, the line-outs. I mean, it's a world that the kick-in, all that, the territory, you know, it really made me think. But I just kept, you know, I made sure that I worked hard and I kept, you know, learning. But it was all about, you know, if somebody headhunts you, you've then got to go, you know, for having a talent, you've then got to go in there and keep that going.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you know. I've seen, you know, some players over the years, and they've made the switch, and they've stopped being good at what they do. Do you know what I mean? If you're fast, just keep skinning people. If you're strong, just keep smashing people. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I went for the challenge, and I stayed at, you know, I chose Sale because they were the closest team. I mean, can you imagine? I've been playing at Wigan, all that success, all those years, and then I go to Sale Sharks, who are 12th in the league. So that in itself was a challenge, because I've gone from a team now that has been so successful to now being with a team that, you know, we've got a lot of work to do. But that was part of the challenge, and you know, I really enjoyed that challenge. And there was a massive fanfare. I probably had more media in the first year being in rugby union than I probably did in the 10 years prior in rugby league. I made my debut on the 5th of February 2000. Sorry, the 5th of November 2000. And then the following February, I'm playing for England. And in June, I'm on a Lions tour. I mean, it just went absolutely nuts. And I didn't know what was going on. It was mad. And everybody's saying, like, you know, will he do this and will he do that? And I was just getting on with it. And because my natural instincts from rugby league was just attack. Ball comes to you, just run. You know, they were expecting me to kick all the time, and I just caught them out so much because I was like, I ain't kicking this ball. I can run it further than I can kick it. So I just kept doing what I was good at. And then a few times, especially when the weather was bad and they just put loads of people down. So I had to learn, they put loads of people on me and just squeezed me in a corner. And I had to learn to kick a ball. But kicking a ball was always second option. And I think that's what made me stand out, because everybody else, kicking was their first option.
One thing that's makes me smile is over the last 6 months, I suppose I've got to know you a bit more. You come in shop, and obviously I know your mum, and I know a lot of people who you know. And one thing that's really nice, and I'm sure, well, you've absolutely no doubt about it, but you have an incredible amount of respect in both codes, which sometimes rugby league players go to rugby union, and rugby union fans are a bit like, I just like union. But it don't matter whether you speak to the biggest rugby union fan or the biggest rugby league fan, and I don't think there's anybody else who get the same answer from both sets of people, which is like, without pissing up your back too much, is ultimate respect. Bloody hell, he were good in. How good were he? I don't think there's anybody else, I might be wrong, but I don't think anybody else has got that amount of respect in both codes. And it is a massive divide. I'm a rugby league lad through and through, but I've been fortunate enough to go to Twickenham 4 times, and I just can't believe the difference in fraternities. Like me, I'm just like, wow, look at what he's gone, look at Carrie's gone, and it's like a totally different divide. I mean, it's like, how do you go from being at Featherstone away on a Sunday with pints of bitter to Twickenham, where it's you can only pay with your card?
but this was a thing. Everybody thought it was just about playing a different code of rugby.
No,
it wasn't. It was a different class,
mate.
I'm reading that.
They were having picnics in car park with butlers.
Yeah, I do that. I do that now, by the way.
Can I be a butler?
Yeah.
Come and do a barbecue for you.
Oh, brilliant. But it is a different world.
I've never seen nothing like it in my life, and I appreciate quality no matter where it is. And I was just like, I mean, lad who I went with said, "Are you going to watch a game?" Well, actually, never sent me to sleep parts of it, but I was just watching everything that were going on, and it is a completely different world. And you settled into it straight away by the looks of it, and to be going on Lions tours, and like I say, everybody has so much respect for you getting right through to a World Cup final, and the rugby league boy.
Yeah. I didn't come. I think that one of the key things is, I knew I was good, but I didn't boast. I didn't. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It's a case of like, go and do it. Let your rugby, let that do the talking. Last thing you want to do is, for me, if I'd have come into rugby union and start giving it the big I am and look at me, I've won all this, I'd have got absolutely pasted. And the thing is, I didn't know anything that much about rugby union when I made the switch. I had a brief spell in '96 with Bath for 4 months. But apart from that, I knew very little about it. But I've come to have a respect because the game is a lot harder. I was brought up in rugby league. So I used to think kick and clap, didn't like rugby union, shut off to it. And then I started to play it and play it against some of the best in the world. When you go and play Australia, play New Zealand, play South Africa, they can play. And you have to be at your very best. So I've got a massive respect for both games. So people keep saying to me, which is best, league or union? I mean, they're just completely different games.
Yeah.
They're completely different games. And I can sit in either camp and enjoy it. I don't need to put rugby union down, don't need to put rugby league down. I mean, these are some of between rugby league and rugby union, some of the fiercest, toughest, men I've ever come across.
Yeah.
Ever come across, and rugby union, when I made the switch over, I always remember being told and seeing a few rucks. But back in the day when I made the switch, you could ruck properly, where they just get you out of the way with the boots. Now, can you imagine they knew that it wasn't often that the forwards get hold of me, but they were just waiting for that one opportunity. And when they got it, they absolutely kicked me to bits because you could really shoe people. And have you ever had a shoe-in?
Good job your mum wasn't watching. Should have killed them.
Have you ever had a shoe-in?
No, only
Honest.
when I was a young'un.
Being at the bottom of a ruck and you have got 5 or 6 forwards, size 14 shoes, studs on like that, intending to maim you, it is not a nice place to be. But it's, you know, it's, and I mean, you get caught once, you don't want to get caught again. So, but it's, I suppose it's just that progression. And for me, it was about just trying to be the best I can be. Do you know what I mean? But you're no different. Do you know what I mean? I know, you know, you're talking about me and the respect I have, but you know, when I talk to people about you, and you love what you do. Do you know what I mean? And it's just when you're around people or see people in their field doing what they love doing, I mean, there's no better feeling.
I loved rugby league when I was a kid, but the minute that I knew in my mind that I wasn't going to be good enough or going to be the right athlete, the minute that I found butchering, I knew I liked it. I knew I could be good at it. I had people I respected and looked up to and wanted to be like. They've done well in the job. That's what I'm going to do. And once I've set my mind on what I want to do, somebody once taught me, like, just have infinite ambition. Don't cap it. You don't want a 4-bedroom detached house. You just want the best one you can get. You don't want that car. You want the best one. And I just want to be the best version of me I can be. And because it's an old-fashioned trade, and there ain't many people coming into it, I just try and put my own modern twist on it. And if you have ambition for something and you like and you're passionate about something, it's quite easy. And what I don't want is any harm for anybody else in trade. I hope people go use the local butchers.
Yeah.
Am I the best in the trade? I'm a heck. No way, there's always somebody better. But I'll doubt there'll be many people more ambitious and want to try about it as much. So, like you had the great attitude with rugby union, I could be just like, no, I do it my way and that's it. I watch what other people do. I constantly on YouTube watching other butchers in Ireland, America.
Yeah.
Just try and pick things off and put it all together. And that, like I say, that's what it is. But forget about me. People will be interested in what...
No, but it's the same thing. If you want to be the best in anything, it's similar things. You've got to work hard. You've got to put the time in. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be, you know, whether it's you looking at butchers here, there, and other, and how to do stuff, and you know, different cuts and all that, different, you know, Wagyu beef and everything else. I'm the same. I'm studying video. I'm looking at my opposition. I'm wondering how, you know, how can I nullify that threat? How can I get better? How can I get fitter, faster, stronger? Do you know what I mean? And so it's just the same thing. And
the one thing I will say about my job is that it's like, for somebody like you who's done probably everything you could more or less possibly do in your chosen profession, looking at some of what I do, it probably interests you in terms of what I'm going to feed my family. And that's something that I'm enjoying doing, trying to get across in butchering to people who are interested. If you're not interested, then it don't matter. Just like people who aren't interested in rugby, watch what you were doing.
Yeah,
but I'm having some people now actually wanting to learn, and I've got some good ideas about where we're going to go with it, and maybe do tutorials. We're getting this new factory sorted out. And like I said, it's infinite. I don't know where it's going to end up, but we'll just keep going.
But I think more and more people, like because of the pandemic, everybody now has been forced to be at home.
Yeah.
So everybody's cooking. So like everybody's thinking, right, what can I do? Yeah. You know, so everybody's trying stuff, cooking. And I mean, when I was playing, it was almost, we were sometimes force fed because we had to working so hard. We had to get the protein and everything else. And sometimes it's almost like you didn't enjoy food just because it's just a case of getting it in. You know, you need this, you need more protein. You know, keep eating chicken, keep eating that. But it's almost now for me that I don't have that pressure just to eat all that to keep everything going. Now I want to enjoy food. Do you know what I mean? Dear me, do I love food.
Well, honestly, and like people watch this and probably think, yeah, whatever, Phil. But like, I've been supplying you for a bit now, and there's some people who just come and get the meat, but you have sort of like taken an interest, and I can see that I like this, I like that. So I like supplying people who are interested. You know, I know Chev's working with us at the minute. He's genuinely interested. Yeah. Alex Simmons, genuinely interested.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot to learn and get out there. And I think people have been institutionalised how they buy meat from supermarket. Yeah. It's like chicken, bacon, frying steak, mince. there's so much to know
Yeah.
and so much to learn. And a good example of this were other week took some meat to Tyson. We supply Tyson Fury. That man can have anything he wants in the world within reason. You know, like when you get to that level of money and fame and stuff like that, for 30 minutes, they were asking me about, we were talking about meat.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were genuinely interested. You know, and I avoided, like, who are you fighting next?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how you could, because you must have it all the time. Tell us about that try. You know, you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about something.
I do. Yeah.
But yeah, meet something that is interesting that we are going to get across, that I've got a load of ideas on. Pandemic has got people interested in cooking, but I want to get back to you, Jason Robinson.
Yeah, but it's those ideas, and I think that's what, you know, people are looking at now. And I don't know, it's opening people's minds. See, I used to have a farm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I used to have a little farm, and I do not, you know, I will not say for 1 minute that I was a farmer, because
no, they're at a different level.
They're at a different level, and the work that goes into that is unbelievable. But I have a huge respect for it, you know, and you know, British meat. I mean, there's no better thing to do than support, you know, farmers and you know, UK.
Where possible, supporting British farming is something that I love to do. And, you know, we've got some cracking cattle and stuff that's going on, and there's so much I want to show you about it all. But, you know, maybe we should go to First one day and we'll pick some quality out, and then I'll show you how to butcher it, and you can take some for your family.
Yeah.
We'll get stuck into it.
Yeah, definitely have a go at that.
So, getting on to the World Cup final. Couldn't have gone any better for you.
I mean, it was one of, we had planned for it being nice weather. So all our preparations in the lead up to that World Cup was all about, you know, Clive Wood was saying about, you know, going out to Australia, you know, the weather's it's going to be warm. So in that summer leading up to the World Cup, we were out, like, I think one of the days was the hottest day on record, 37.7 degrees. We were getting absolutely beasted because he wanted us, you know, if we got out then it was really hot, he just wanted us to be prepared. Do you know what I mean? No excuses. And we did that. And then we got out to Australia and almost just peeing it down every time. It's like, oh, this is not weather for me. But we got through. It's very rare you'll get an England team of any sport to go into a World Cup as favourites. And we went in there as favourites. So that, you know, that comes with a heavy, do you know what I mean?
You get nervous?
All the time, yeah.
You get nervous.
Yeah, but it's good, isn't it? You've got to.
I've never been there, believe it.
No, but you've got to. No, but something's got to give you a bit of edge. Do you know what I mean? If it's just kind of just going through the motions, then this is a World Cup.
I know.
It doesn't get any bigger. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, I'm from the back streets of Leeds.
Yeah.
You know, to get that opportunity to be the best in the world is unbelievable. But it's a huge responsibility. But you know, it's an opportunity then to do something amazing. And I always remember that game because we went to the game again, peeing it down. It was at the Olympic Stadium, just unbelievable venue. But I was edgy. I just knew. I knew that this was the biggest game of my life by a long, long way. And I remember like 4 or 5 minutes into the game, they put a crossfield kick in. And it was interesting because I was playing against a few ex-rugby league players. So Rogers, Takiri out-jumped me for the try to score the start. Wendell Saylor was playing.
Yeah.
So there's some like old history, you know, history.
Him,
oh, dear me. Yeah, some history with you know, some of these guys. So for me as a player, because they scored 4 or 5 minutes into a game, this is probably one of the most important times for me in that game, because most people I know it would have affected them mentally, which then would have had an effect on the performance. Because when something like that happens and they score, the battle's in the mind. Physically, they might be a bit taller than you, but the reality is the battle's in your mind. So then for me, it was a case of just get back into the game. Don't dwell on it. Do you know what I mean? Because in games, you will knock on, you will miss tackles, things will happen. But it's how you deal with those things that really shows what you're all about. So for me, it was like, get back into the game, get a touch on the ball, do this. And I got back into the game. And as it happens, about half an hour later, opportunity came. Lawrence Delalio makes a half break, back inside to Johnny Wilkinson. And we almost create the perfect situation because Ben Cohen was on his right-hand side and I was on Johnny Wilkins' left-hand side. But because he caught the ball facing me, he knew I was in his eye line. So straight away, he put the ball out to me. And you don't get many opportunities like that. You just pin your ears down, little legs are going a million miles an hour. And just that moment, it was I slid in because it was wet and I just wanted to make sure I had Rodgers and Saylor chasing me. And it was almost like an explosion. Like I got up and I just punched the ball and I was like, come on. And honestly, it was almost partly just the pressure. It was just a release. And then, hang on a minute, the little lad from the back streets of Leeds is now at the time I didn't realise that, but the only player to ever score a try in a World Cup final. Not just for England, in the Northern Hemisphere. Nobody else has scored one. And this is what makes life special because if I can do it, everybody's got a chance of doing something. It doesn't mean to say they're going to be. Do you know what I mean? It's just you can be the best at whatever you want to be.
The best version of you that can be.
Do you know what I mean? And then coming away from, one of the things that kind of sticks in my mind is when we were out there was so much going on that people, we didn't realise the support that had generated during that World Cup and the following that we had because we're in Australia and we were just getting slammed by Australians. And all of a sudden we've gone home and life was going to be different, from that moment.
And it must have been different.
I always remember going round on a open top bus. Now I've been round on an open top bus quite a lot because Wigan used to win a lot of.
They have their own.
do you know what I mean?
Cheaper to buy one for them.
And it's special. Do you know what I mean? And you share that moment. But actually, going round London, million people. It was like something out of a movie. People up lampposts, hanging out of windows. Again, can you imagine me, going down and there was a big flagship Marks and Spencer store. And it had and I'm saying it was massive, and it had huge posters outside, and I was sponsored by Marks and Spencer's, and it had me on the side. And then straight ahead on all the, on the big the digital ones, it had a picture of me sliding in from a try. And it was just almost like, is this real?
Surreal, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you get invited to the palace and, I'm having tea with the Queen and, wow. Do you know what I mean? I honestly, sometimes, I still don't believe really that happened to me.
Did Queen say it to you?
Yes, easy now. Respect. Now I say, the Queen.
What did she say?
So, there was a few times. So, one time we went there and we're just having sort of tea with the Queen, just a bit of a reception. Then we all got honoured. So I got an MBE for winning the World Cup. So I remember receiving that, and I received that off the Queen. And she's obviously briefed in, what to say to people, and she's amazing at that. And then she was talking about my boots. So I was always the one that had, either a white pair of boots or, I never really had a black pair of boots. So she ended up talking about my boots. But I'm just so nervous. It's you got to bow, and you know what I mean? It's like I'm used to council estates and stuff like that. All of a sudden now we're in the palace.
Wow.
We're in, boys. Do you know what I mean? So I did that, and then, when I finished, I got an OBE. So I got that Prince Charles for services to rugby. So again, it's just, it's not supposed to happen to lads like me. Do you know what I mean? And that's now why I'm so passionate about, I don't know, going back as my school teacher, PE teacher, got me into it. Now, I didn't get into it because my dad was a famous rugby player or anybody in my family did it. Just somebody with a bit of a passion. Here, lad, come and try this.
Yeah.
You know, and now
I know you're
for me,
quick to throw your hat into helping young development stuff. You do a bit of boys club and that now and again, don't you?
but that, I mean, that works really well for me because, you know, the Hunslet Club and Parkside have joined forces, so it's just a win-win. So, you know, they do so much for kids like me, and they love it. And guys like you know, Dennis, Colin Cooper, you know, they did so much for just, you know, just normal kids, you know, and some kids that had some real, you know, have some real challenges, but that place is open all the time.
Yeah.
And kids go down there for some safety, for some refuge, for, you know, better food, you know, get involved in some sport, a bit of guidance. And, you know, it's great for me now to go back as one of quite a few people have done well in sport, and just say, look, you know, we can all do it. You know, we've all got an opportunity, so just make the most of it. So, you know, I know, you know, you support the club as well, and I think that's key. We all have to do it. You know, we all have to play our part in some way and give people an opportunity. Otherwise, you know, those kids are not going to come through, and you know, and are probably going to lose their way.
We've agreed to supply Canteen with bacon, sausages and burgers for infinite time whenever we can afford it, because we want them to be eating proper burgers, sausages and bacon. You know what I mean? These kids don't want to be eating load of rubbish. So that's Bennett's contribution to it. But it is a special place.
You know something, and that's, for me, that's massive, because I know there's a lot of kids there that won't get bacon.
No, they won't be eating proper protein.
Won't get sausage. Won't get that. So, you know, you might just see it as a little gesture, but I was probably one of those kids back then who, do you know what I mean? You're smelling everybody else's bacon, and for those kids to go down, and you knowing that actually, you know, he's had his stomach filled. Do you know what I mean? It's massive.
I think about things like that, and I really do enjoy getting involved in stuff like that where I can, and you know that everyone's got the part to play, and if mine's just a bit of bacon, sausage and burgers, then that'll do for me.
Yeah, but we all love bacon, sausage and burgers, don't we? Hey?
But on back of your success with World Cup and scoring that try and playing Lions and being the poster, but there must have been great endorsements on that. Everybody must have been chasing you. Everyone. You must have been dropping it. I'd never ask you, you know, never be rude enough to ask you finance, but you must have been like picking what you wanted. There must have been everyone after you.
Yeah, I mean, I did work. I mean, when I look back at it again, you know, I had some really great sponsors, like household names. Do you know what I mean? HSBC, you know, Marks and Spencer's, Puma, Land Rover. The list kind of went on. And when I look back, you know, Coca-Cola, and so
rightly so, it was a big thing.
Yeah, you know, it was good, and I think the one thing for me was, despite winning the World Cup, that wasn't my driver. It was all about process. I just wanted to be the best I could be. I wasn't bothered about. I don't need anybody to pat me on the back to tell me, you know, I'm good. I actually know I'm good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. But that's what I was good at. I'll tell you a lot of things that I'm not good at. But when it came to rugby, you know, I was good. So, you know, it's just amazing how things turn out, and I think you know, it is nice when you see yourself on these billboards or in advertising, and
well, my very, very basic skill set is being able to cut, sell, display me with a smile and be nice to people, but I'd have swapped for yours.
Yeah. but the thing is, you know, it doesn't matter what brand you are, you know, you want people to represent that. And for me, it was, I mean, in many ways, I know I've changed in some ways, but I'm still, I know my roots. I know, you know, I know who I am. I don't need to be anything I'm not. I'm not. I still see myself as just a working class lad from Leeds. Do you know what I mean?
What does Jason Robinson, when you've done everything there is to do to a degree, there won't be many people done much better in both codes and this, that. What's the future? What's the ambition after that?
So for me, it's, my rugby was great and I use it and network, and I've got a lot of people that have, seen me over the years because of what I've done there. But I've done that now. I don't want to keep dining out on that and wearing an England blazer and going.
I would be. I'd be still walking around with my medal on.
That's why you've not won one, Phil. That's why you've not won one. But for me now, I don't know. I want my World Cup in business. And I left school with 2 E's and 2 F's. So, I've no business degree or masters or anything else. The only test I've ever passed is my driving test. But what I've realised is I'm actually good with people. Because even though I've been up there in terms of, sort of elite sport, I can be just as comfortable down here. And for me, people buy into people. As your customers come into your shop and you have that rapport with them, and do you know what I mean? It's an experience, isn't it? Yeah. So for me, when I meet people, when I work for companies, then, again, I want to be the best I can be. And I now want my World Cup in business, and I've got a whole host of things going on at the moment. There's stuff that I'm really passionate about, schools. So I'm going into schools, trying to inspire schools, get kids. The physical health is massive now with what's going on, the pandemic, mental health, emotional health. Everything that rugby gave me, I didn't realise at the time, but rugby taught me about business. Do you know what I mean? I thought rugby just taught me about rugby, but it didn't. It taught me about business. And I sit in, I'm in meetings and boardrooms, and I like to listen and learn. And if you're willing to listen and learn, it's amazing. That's the most important. And just because I see people now, and when you see somebody that knows the stuff, do you know what I mean? Exactly right. So if you're in a meeting and you're talking about this and he knows his stuff, and as I try to manipulate people on the team, give me the ball, and I'll make him do that, and I'll do that, and blah. Do you know what I mean? And then that'll work out. Sitting in those meetings and sort of them doing their thing and getting the meeting to go exactly how they want, and because they've got that knowledge, because they've done all that work. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Like it's gold.
I was brought up in Leeds Market, and in Leeds Market, when I were a young lad, it was very, very, very busy. And if you were a stall holder in Leeds Market, chances are you were doing well. That's just how it was. And honestly, I'm no expert in business, but I'm an expert in listening and learning. And what I try to do is just try and pick off bits of everybody. He were good. And he might be florist. What were he good at? What were he good at? What were he good at? What were that butcher good at? Because on Butcher's Road, there were 21 shops. So there were like 7 of them that were good at something. Yeah. And they all had different styles. There's different styles of butchering. So I'd take a bit off him, bit off him, bit off him. Bit off him or at biscuit shop, bit off him or at sweet shop, and I just try and pick the little best bits. It's nowhere near perfect. It's not even but that's what I do. Yeah. So in a market, there are a multitude of businesses, and if you can pick off all them people who are all earning a living and get all the best bits, then that's what I'm trying to do. But whether it'll pan out to total victory, but you don't know where victory is,
Yeah, so. but most people think that the success your success always comes from getting things right, and winning and being successful is normally due to lots of mistakes. Yeah. Lots of times where you don't get it right, lots of adversity, and it's how you deal with that. And we've talked for a while now about my successes in league, in union. It didn't always go. It wasn't always hunky-dory. I wasn't always floating on this cloud or riding this wave. Sometimes I was under, and you know, I was really struggling. You know, I take you back to 1995. You know, just signed a £1 million contract, you know, to go to Australia, and you know, from the outside, everything was hunky dory. I was scoring tries, playing at Wembley, playing for England, Great Britain, doing all those kind of things, winning trophies. But I was struggling inside. I was struggling, but I'd got used to what I'd been taught to do as a man, and just man up and not, you know, just not show any weakness, not show anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Not show that you're struggling, you know. And if you are, like, well, just go and have a beer. You know, just sort yourself out, and you know. But I was struggling, and you know, I put my hands up. It was a really tough time for me. You know, I'd brought up with my mum, my two brothers. All of a sudden, I'm living on my own. You know, I go from a council estate, and within the space of no time, I'm playing first team rugby, playing at Wembley. Who prepares you for all that?
Nobody.
You know, and I get to a stage where I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to be here. I just can't cope with it. I needed a big brother, and thankfully, you know, I had Veiga Twiga-Marla, who
Inga the winger.
Yeah, Inga the winger and Apollo Perolini. You know, they were massive for me. You know, and they were physically massive, but you know, I think sometimes I always remember him sort of saying to me, like, it's you know, it's the dead fish that go with the flow. And I couldn't work out why we're so happy. You know, we were going out all the time, getting drunk, just partying and just having this, like, living the life. Do you know what I mean? And then we'd come in, just following morning, like, we'd be struggling, but come back in. Inga, come, smile from ear to ear. The happiest, you know, most joyous person I've ever seen. And I'm thinking, what is it? Why are you so happy? It was almost bugging me. Do you know what I mean? You didn't even go out last night. Why are you so happy? You've no stories. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, I then found out it was his faith. And he came into training one day and said to me, he said, I had a dream about you last night. I'm thinking, oh, did you now? No. And he said, yeah. He said, in this dream I saw you and you stood on top of the world. He said, you had the world at your feet. And that's how it was. I mean, everything was going amazingly well. And he said, as I watched, slowly it started to crumble from under your feet. And that was my personal life, you know, and I was in turmoil and nobody else could see. He was the first person to ever see what I was going through. And it broke me. And, you know, he was a massive support for me at that moment. Otherwise, I dread to think, you know, what would have happened. Him and Apollo Perolini. I lived with Apollo for probably about 8 months. We lived together, and I always remember, you know, I was struggling, and it was just so good because they took me under the wing, and you know, I wanted to. I was going out and I was drinking all the time, and you know, there's a certain time where lots of people do that, but you know, I'm a professional sportsman as well. Yeah. You know, looking after yourself is key, and you know, it was a tough old time. But they took me under the wing. I lived with Apollo, and you know, I just thought, I've got to change my life. I can't go out 6 nights a week, and I started to go to church with them, and you know, I started to get a little. I thought to myself, you know, while some of that stuff was good, I thought, surely there's more to life than this. There's got to be, you know. And because of what I saw in Inga, I thought, I want some of that. I just want some peace, some contentment. Because I realised, you know, we used to buy cars for 100 quid. Mally Scrapyard, Dewsbury Road. Never bought a car for over 100 quid. And then all of a sudden, you know, I signed for Wigan. I buy my own Escort Eclipse in ocean blue. Oh, it's lovely. But then all that happens is I want a better one. And then I buy this and I buy that. You get a terraced house and then you get... Do you know what I mean? It was almost... There was no fulfilment. And I saw him and I thought, he's just content. He doesn't have to have the biggest car. He doesn't have to have the nicest clothes. He doesn't have to come in. And that for me as a young lad was so powerful because everybody else was just going with the flow. Do you know what I mean? And it was almost, you couldn't go against the system because you just felt an oddball. But then here's this guy who's, you know, he's just as much as part of the team. He's tough, he's fierce, but but he's actually nice, and he's living a normal. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so he was massive for me, and after that, I mean, I didn't have a drink for 16 years. You know, and my focus then was on the process and doing my job, and as a result of it, you know, from 21 onwards, you know, I ended up becoming one of the most successful players. You know,
You certainly did a good job, a very, very good job. I don't think you could have done much better. And you know, I want to cut things there by thanking you so much for the opportunity for tonight. I've brought you the meat box. I've designed it myself for you as a token of my appreciation. If you come to the Cattlegrid and you know something, we started right at the top. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Mate. Let's get this
Good
box
to see you.
So everybody who comes to Cattlegrid and helps me on my journey in podcasting is going to get a meat pack designed by me. And obviously I've supplied Jason for quite a while now, and I like to think I know what you like. So I've designed this for you. You know, thank you for your time. There's plenty of people coming, so if you come, we're going to get a nice pack. So I know you like your chicken, but I don't want to bore you with it. So you've got some Nando's chicken fillets.
Yeah.
You've got some tandoori chicken fillets.
Good stuff.
You've got some lemon pepper chicken fillets. Now, believe it or not, they taste like lemon and pepper and chicken.
That's amazing.
That's why they call it lemon pepper chicken.
I can't wait to taste them.
I've got you 2 Robert Pearson Champion Limousine T-bone steaks. Fillet should be just about same size as sirloin, and it's sirloin fillet. Beautiful.
Oh, yes. Looking forward to those.
I deal with a company in Scotland called AP Scott. The massively, I know the big rugby union fans because I've seen it on the Facebook thing.
Hey,
so.
I'm half Scottish.
Are you half Scottish? Well, there you go. That's why I never played for you. So that's from them. That's Scottish Aberdeen Angus sirloin steaks. Nice little bit of finish in them. Pièce de resistance is Wagyu.
Ooh.
Marble score about 6 out of 10. Nice finish. Quality.
I do not think I've ever had a Wagyu steak.
Yeah. Didn't you ever try it in Japan? You've been to Japan to play rugby union, though.
No. This is a world's first, this.
Well, you know, without pissing up your back, you're world-class player, you have world-class meat. See how you go on with that. You've got them on finance. Pay me monthly. I've done you a half sirloin, so half sirloin plain, just straightforward, roast it, beautiful, cooked pink in middle, and then I've signatured you one.
Oh, yeah.
So this is when the big man gets stuck
What's
in.
on this then?
I've put deep scores in it, right with steak knife, right down to fat, because fat's on bottom.
Yeah.
And then I've put garlic cloves in middle, full garlic cloves, then rosemary, then garlic butter florets. When you just cook that, give it a nice fire in for 20 minutes and then turn it down, that will be good quality, that, I'm telling you. Really, really tasty. Then I've done you some plain chicken fillets because not everybody wants flavour, so I just did you some of them.
Yeah.
And then I did you a bit of bacon gear. This is what we're going to be sending to the boys club. So I wanted you to try it, same as what boys are going to be trying. Really good quality butcher's sausages. Did you Cumberland, just having a bit of spice. Bennett's signature thick cut bacon, best of the best. This is what they're getting at boys club for the youngsters. And then I just did you a gammon joint, so I just thought, bit of ham for the fridge, bit of quality. And that is Jason Robinson's quality meat pack.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Well, no problem. You giving me time. The least I can do is supply you with a nice pack.
Phil.
Take care.